Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am recording this on June 5th, the Friday. This is a very special day for me because it is my wedding anniversary. You know what, there is another weird timing happening here. Sunday is actually my birthday. Yes, my wedding day and my birthday are 2 days apart. And you know what's even crazy? Sunday, which is my birthday, is also my wife Anne's birthday as well. So yeah, so today is my wedding day. On the Monaco GP day, it is my birthday. So yeah, and you might see that I'm wearing a Liverpool jersey. This is actually the 26-27 kit. The season hasn't even started and my wife has gifted me my Liverpool jersey. Yes, so this is my birthday gift. So why am I wearing a Liverpool jersey for the video? Our manager Arnie Slot got sacked and we have a new manager. So yes, all good things happening this week. Listen, don't worry. This is still a Formula 1 video and we have the Monaco GP weekend here. And here's what you need to know before the weekend starts. This is the Monaco GP Weekend Preview. First off, I want to start by saying that from the last race in Canada to Monaco, these are two polar opposites. Like in Canada was full of action, lots of overtakes, close racing. Monaco will be the exact opposite. No racing at all. It's just qualifying that is interesting. Even with race incidents and safety cars, there is no excitement because as soon as the safety car ends, the snooze-fest just starts all over again. You know, when people who do not understand Formula 1 say that, you know, Formula 1 is just cars going round and round in circles, that is pretty much what Monaco GP is. Why is it like that though? See, Monaco GP was born at a time where Formula 1 was entirely different. In fact, Formula 1 didn't exist. Monaco GP was very difficult because it was a street circuit and it had its right to be a formidable racetrack. But Monaco eventually became a tax haven and it attracted a lot of rich folks, and eventually Monaco GP became a sort of meet and greet for wealthy people and their investors and for their to talk about their companies, to talk about business while racing is happening. See, the track isn't bad at all. In fact, the qualifying here is actually exciting to watch and the drivers also find it extremely challenging because to get the best out of it, you need millimeter precision. But eventually over the years, the cars got wider, longer, heavier, and the track being a street circuit, it kind of remained the same. You couldn't make any modifications, right? So it holds a very awkward position where there is a lot of historic significance, and that's another reason why it still continues to be in the calendar, but it isn't really proper racing. So last year, to reduce the snooze fest of a race, FIA introduced a new rule, which was mandatory 2 pit stops. And this year, there are some more changes to the rules too. And let's dive straight in. Let's talk about what these changes are. Firstly, let's talk about the rule change that was brought in last year, which was the 2 mandatory pit stops. Logically, it makes sense, right? If you have 2 pit stops, when you force the team to make 2 pit stops, the teams will then have more chances to mess up the tire strategies. They might change the tire strategies based on how the race is evolving. And there is a chance of even the pit crew messing up, like in case of Daniel Ricciardo, right? Your car is inside the pit and the team is not ready. Things like that. There is a lot more opportunity for chaos. But none of that happened. In fact, the teams found it even ingenious different loophole. Basically, if 2 teammates qualified next to each other, one driver, the driver ahead, drove fast and the driver behind drove slow, creating a big enough gap. So the driver ahead could actually do a decent enough pit stop and then come back and join without even losing a position. Also, there is also a very famous Ollie Bearman interview, I think on Wired or something like that, where he mentions that he got so bored last year in the Monaco GP, he wanted to see if he could do a lap around Monaco in the race without fully pressing the accelerator, and he actually managed to do it. This is all bad news. When you drive slowly, the tires will also last a lot longer. So Yeah, the FIA had to scrape that rule off for this year. But there is a twist. See, this year we have new regulations as well, which has brought in its own unique complexities that we have never seen in Formula One before. And it is all to do with the electrical energy. So here's the big picture headline. Okay, we have a lot of electrical energy deployment and we spend energy in the straights and then we harvest the energy back, or you recharge the battery back during the corners, right? Monaco GP has plenty of corners where you can recharge everything back, but it has literally no proper straights where you have to fully deploy or empty all of the electrical energy. This creates a very unique problem. Why? Because battery is almost always fully charged. There is no place where it is completely drained, which means if the battery deploys in some unnecessary spot of the track, there is a chance for a huge accident, exactly like what happened to Ollie Behrman in Japan. The Monaco track had a DRS zone in the starting grid side of things, but the FIA had decided not to convert it into a straight zone. So Monaco has no straight zone. But there is a reason for this too. FIA feels that the downforce that is necessary to keep the cars on track is much lesser, even on the opening straight, and that might cause some safety incidents into turn one, and that is the reason why there is no active aero at all going to be used in this race. So to combat all of these extra battery problems, the FIA have actually come up with a decent solution. There is a new, less powerful engine mapping called Rev 1 that is being applied. So what does that mean? So in normal mode, the MGUK, or the electric power, the engine part that gives electrical power, right, that gives around 350 kilowatts till the car reaches 290 kph. Okay, after that it slowly decreases to zero. This is called clipping, right, where the battery is fully deployed and when the power from the combustion engine is used to recharge the battery pack. In Monaco, instead of giving all 350 kilowatts till 290 kilometers per hour, it will stop at 200 kilometers per hour itself, and the clipping starts from there. This way we have just enough battery to be fast, but the speed is kind of relative to Monaco standards, right? Now with this change, there is also a lot of chatter around which team and driver has the advantage going into Monaco. So let's bloody talk about it. I'm killing it with my jokes today, I think. So lots of fuss in the paddock and online that it's advantage Ferrari. Why is that? So this year, Ferrari has been struggling a lot in the straight. Their strength is carrying high corner speeds and exit speeds. So a track like Monaco is ideal for them, where the weakest part of the performance package is completely removed. That's why every team is kind of unanimously agreeing that this race is Ferrari's to lose. Also, Lewis and Charles Leclerc are coming off of a good weekend. Lewis got his podium with Ferrari and calling it one of the happiest days since he has joined Ferrari. Charles Leclerc got a government job equivalent, which is a long-term contract with the team. He basically has job security. We will discuss the contract details in a bit, but that's another reason why it is Ferrari's race to lose, because they are coming in with such momentum. Okay, that's all fine, but Mercedes has been dominant throughout all these races, right? So why are they here at a disadvantage? Two reasons in my opinion. First is the obvious strength of the Mercedes power unit with the limitations of the power unit, plus there is no need for straight line speed in this circuit. So the power advantage here actually is meaningless. So they are literally starting with the level playing field with everybody else. But there is one other reason why I also feel that it might be a difficult weekend for them, is that because Kimi isn't a precision driver, okay? He makes a lot of mistakes. Monaco is a very precise circuit. You need precision, millimeter precision in qualifying. So Kimi will not be pushing to his 100% because there is no reward for the risk, right? He's already leading the championship. Mercedes are clear of every other team in the constructors as well. So there is no reason to take unnecessary risks. So no reason to chase some records also, like to have so many wins in a row. There is no reason for that. Just focusing on getting more points for the team, that is going to be the objective for him. For George, while he is experienced in Monaco, similar logic. Do not overcook the weekend. Just try to do what is best for the team. don't try anything fancy and bring as many points as possible to the team. That is going to be probably Toto's instructions to both Kimi and George. I do feel like McLaren and Red Bull can also give competition, but Ferrari are the clear favorites to win the Monaco GP this year. Let's wait and see what happens, and stay tuned till the end of the video to hear my predictions as well. Okay, speaking of Ferrari, another big news from the week is Charles Leclerc has extended his contract with Ferrari. It is a multi-year deal and we don't know the specifics, but it is definitely going beyond 2030. He already had the longest contract in Ferrari history and now he has extended it even further. I know a lot of people online are calling it Stockholm Syndrome. You know what is Stockholm Syndrome, right? It is when the prisoner falls in love with the oppressor, right? We have examples like the Beauty and the Beast. We have Rapunzel and her mother, Euan Greyjoy, and now we have Charles Leclerc and Ferrari. But I think there is more to this story, okay? So as always, my mind always goes to the big picture MBA business thinking, right? Ferrari legit has two main verticals in their business, okay? One is the F1 vertical and other is the supercar manufacturer, which is all that, you know, supercars that they sell. So anytime when there is a significant news that breaks into the market, their stock prices fluctuate. So if Ferrari release their quarterly earnings and if they are doing good, their stock price also changes positively. If they don't do well, if they reported losses, then their stock prices will tank. And last week, Ferrari as a business had a disaster of a week with the launch of their new fully electric supercar. The stock price fell so fast. As a business, they cannot afford to have more shocks. Usually when a company has a shock like this in the stock market, they take time to recover. But if there are multiple news, which is like drastic news like this, that comes in the same timeline 1 week after the other, it might be very disastrous for the business. And that's why I believe Charles Leclerc's contract was rushed and closed and it was announced at this perfect time. The timing of this news is right after the disaster, plus it is in the Monaco weekend. So you might think they announced it because it is Charles Leclerc's home race. While that could be a very valid public facing reason, it is also Monaco where all the people who can actually afford a Ferrari are actually visiting the race to watch. The people who travel to attend the Monaco GP are probably the kind of people who do not mind spending so much money on a overpriced electric supercar. Charles Leclerc hasn't won a championship in 9 years and he doesn't even have double-digit race wins, and everyone knows that it is not Charles Leclerc's fault that he has less race wins, okay? And he is a hot property in the market. Charles Leclerc himself had admitted in one of the interviews after the signing that there are other teams that was interested in him as well. So the right business move is to lock in Charles Leclerc to avoid any more big breaking news or jerks, negative jerks in the stock market, as well as have these drivers talk to all of these Monaco big superstars who visit and talk to them about the new electric car and encourage them to maybe pick one up. If you think, oh, that's not the job of the drivers is to sit in a Formula 1 car and drive, let me break it down to you. The job of a Formula 1 driver is to drive and also sell the business. So yes, Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc are obviously going to say nice things about the electric car, and the whole point of Monaco GP for Ferrari is to push that electric car, because this is the first week where people are actually gathering, all the rich people are gathering, and Ferrari have a captive audience where they can literally go and talk about this stuff. And with them being the favorites for this racetrack, all eyes are pretty much on them. So Ferrari thought, yeah, it is time to win some of those stock prices that they lost a couple of weeks back. And from Charles Leclerc's point of view, yes, it might be interpreted as Stockholm Syndrome that he is managed to and agreed to stick with Ferrari. But I also want you to consider it a risk versus reward game. See, at some point, Arsenal and RCB were eventually going to win the championship. Ferrari's time is long overdue, and it is good to be on the right side of the timing. And with a long-term contract, it gives you financial and lifestyle security. A known enemy is always better than the chaos of the unknown. And it is better to be a Red Bull Ricciardo than a Red Bull Renault McLaren AlphaTauri Ricciardo. You know what I mean? In another rich people news, the Las Vegas circuit also got renewed for God knows how long, 10 years, 11 years. If you want proof that Formula One is run by rich people, see the contract extension that was done for races which are for rich people. See, this is why F1 is not coming to India that fast. Nobody is jumping in to have an Indian Grand Prix because there needs to be money and investment that goes into the sport. It is a rich people's game. One more interesting thing that happened this week in the press conference, last race, Ocon and Haas boss Ayo Komatsu criticized all the clickbait articles about Esteban's future, and this week it was Bottas's turn. He criticized all those clickbaity articles that said his race seat is under threat. Dude, first of all, he is in a Cadillac, right? His expectation is to make sure the car reaches the grid, not to get into Q2 or Q3, not to get into the podium. It is just to make sure they have a decent Formula One start. And both Perez and Bottas are experienced drivers who are, while competitive in nature, are actually helping build a team from scratch. If genuinely Cadillac are looking at drivers and their performance at the moment, that team is ridiculous. That team is starting off on the wrong foot already. They are a brand new team who started from scratch. Unlike Audi, which has acquired and started off with a different team, Cadillac is built ground up. And also, have people forgotten how good of a driver Bottas was and is? Bottas on occasion has beaten prime Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes when they were teammates. So I personally rate him very, very high, and any Bottas slander will not be appreciated. Bottas made it very clear this weekend. He called it bullshit. So yeah, Bottas' seat is definitely not under threat, and we are going to see the pseudo-Australian a lot more often on the paddock. Monaco also is bringing a lovely set of special liveries. McLaren are celebrating their 1000th race. They were aura forming with that goated picture of all McLaren drivers standing on the Monaco track. But as far as the livery is concerned, I think they could have done things a bit better. I'm sure there are minute details in the livery that are significant, but visually for me, it looked the same. It wasn't popping out to me. But you know who nailed the livery for Monaco? Aston Martin. Now, before you think that Aston Martin should start doing all of these liveries and focus on the car, firstly, the social media and the publicity team of any race team, right? They have nothing to do with engineering. Second, these liveries, there is a purpose for why these kind of liveries are done. It highlights milestones and it keeps investors happy. In Formula One, there can be only one team and one driver who is a winner. Every company would love to sponsor and have their logo on the winning car and the winning driver's race suit, right? But that is not possible. So why do companies sponsor tail teams and midfield teams? It's for the visibility. Yes, doing these kinds of liveries and stuff gives additional visibility even though their cars are not on the podium. Just by having a little bit of flair to their cars brings in a lot of eyeballs and attention to the car and the logos on the car. These liveries and these additional interests and attentions are what helps retain sponsors and bring in new sponsors as well. So yeah, Aston Martin have done a lovely livery, but will they start the race? That is not so sure, because apparently, according to Alonso, the cars is downshifting on its own. And in a track like Monaco, that is a very, very dangerous place to be in. So Alonso said that they are trying to fix it. So we'll wait and see if the car even leaves the garage. But if it is, I'm hoping for Alonso in Q2 at least. Charles Leclerc was also spotted with a new race suit for his home race, which is like nice and chill. Williams also have some interesting things going on. Nothing so different, nothing out of the ordinary, but it is just good to always see some variety in the cars on the grid every now and then. Now let's talk about upgrades with the removal of the straight modes. Pretty much every team is bringing in their custom wings and winglets for Monaco. Almost all of them are Monaco specific. We will get the reports from the FIA very soon which team has done what. But as of now, when I checked the reports, Lando and Leclerc have been summoned by the stewards for coming in late to the press conference apparently. So basically right now they are standing outside the principal's office and their parents are called. They will have to stand in the sun for 2 hours and they'll have to kneel down for 20 minutes, and in their notebook they'll have to write, "I will not be late," for like 20 pages. I guess that is how like, being summoned to the steward sounds like, when you're a kid, you are summoned to the staff room or the teacher's office or the school principal's office. It felt like that for coming late. I think it is nothing serious. If they do it again and again and again, they might get a fine and they might get some reprimands. But for now, yeah, that is the update that is available on FIA's website. Okay, let's do predictions. I know predictions every creator does. I want to keep it unique and fresh. See, instead of predictions, these are what my heart wants to see. Okay, it would make me really happy if I saw all of what I am going to say. And I'm not going to do podium P1, P2, P3. I'm not going to do all of that. I'm going to say statements, what I would love to see or what I expect to see, what I want to see. And then after the race is over and in the review video, we will see if my predictions were right or not. First, Max will have a good weekend. He might even get on the podium. Yeah, that's what I want to see. Second, Lewis will do better than Charles. Yeah, I'm not a sadist, but I like Lewis Hamilton more than Charles Leclerc, to be honest. Third, McLaren will be on the podium. Fourth, and this is the wildest of the predictions, Kimi will not even get into Q3. And fifth, Alpine double points. I know that happened last week as well, but I want to see Alpine give a little more competition in the midfield. So that's my prediction. We shall see how horribly wrong I am in the review video. Alright folks, thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking around. Hope you have a lovely race weekend. I'm going to have a blast. Follow me on IG and we shall enjoy the weekend together over there. Okay? Stay tuned for the review video after the race is over. See you. Bye.